5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
This is About Space, America's return to space, with news and information on our U.S. space program. Is your host of About Space, David Denault.
Welcome, and thanks for joining me today. If the days feel like they got shorter as you're getting older, you may not be imagining it. On June the 29th, 2022, the Earth made one full rotation that took 1.59 milliseconds, less than the average day length of 24 hours. While 1.59 milliseconds shortening might not seem like much, it's part of a larger and peculiar trend. Some scientists say it might be the beginning of a 50-year phase. More on The Earth is Spinning Faster next, as America and the world is listening to About Space Today.
Packet boost is go. PTC is go. LPS is go. Houston flight is go.
And stand by for About Space Today's live coverage of the Space Launch System and the Orion spacecraft to the Moon. Join us on Monday, August 29 at 8 a.m. for live coverage from the Kennedy Space Center on our YouTube channel, tinyurl.com/AboutSpaceTodayUT. That's tinyurl.com/AboutSpaceTodayUT. Join me, David Denault, and co-host Dawn Meyer, Space Coast news editor, for America's next giant leap, our first mission to the moon since 1972. Artemis, the return to the moon to stay. Live coverage Monday, August the 29th at 8 a.m. And be sure to invite your family and friends to join us. D&D Cruise and Tours is the official agent for About Space, and we invite you to come fly away to all-inclusive resort island destinations, or a cruise vacation from Port Canaveral, and even visit the Kennedy Space Center Visitor Complex, or just come and see the parks. Call for a discount cruise or an island getaway or the Florida beaches. Call today. The call is free, and so are our services. Call 877-747-8631. That's 877-747-8631. We are Florida's group travel specialists. Welcome back. Scientists have kept track of time and date notes that the year 2020 had the highest number of short days since scientists started using the atomic clocks to take daily measurements in the 1960s. Scientists first noticed the trend in 2016. And here's more.
The Earth just recorded its shortest day on record, and the effects could be devastating. The Earth completed a recent rotation in quicker time than ever before, and the consequences for how we keep time have scientists alarmed. Earth recorded its shortest day on record on June 29, completing one rotation in 1.59 milliseconds under 24 hours. Scientists aren't exactly sure what is causing the slightly faster rotation, but speculate it could be linked to climate change, tides, or even the Earth's layers. Irregular rotations create the need for something known as a leap second, a second added to the Coordinated Universal Time, or UTC, that keeps our clocks as close to solar time, the movements of the sun, as possible. Scientists say that the impact of a negative leap second has never been tested on a large scale, and it could have a devastating effect on things like software relying on timers or schedulers. But for years, Earth's rotation has been largely slowing over time, which can also cause massive headaches. This is why. What happens if the Earth stopped spinning? Well, it kind of is. The rotation of Earth is gradually slowing down. And by gradually, we mean the length of a day currently increases by about 1.8 milliseconds every century. So, not really much to worry about there. But what if it just stopped? Okay, the probability has been described by scientists as practically zero, but let's not let that stop us from learning. The Earth currently spins at 1,770 kilometres an hour, or 1,100 miles, at the equator as it orbits the Sun. If that just stopped instantly, it would be chaos. Anything on land that was not attached to bedrock would go flying. That would mean rocks, soil, trees, buildings, animals, people, everything would be swept away. This would also include the oceans, which would be forced sideways at terrifying speed. Tsunamis would form so high you couldn't see the top. Just a gigantic wall of water racing at nearly 2,000 kilometers an hour. All of that would be catastrophic. But wait, there's more. The Earth may stop suddenly, but the atmosphere would continue to spin, which would cause winds and storms travelling at the speed of an atomic blast. Okay, so that's what would instantly happen. If anyone happens to survive those catastrophes, things are about to get a little more interesting. The current spin of the Earth means there's a bulge of water at the equator, caused by a centrifugal force. If the Earth stops spinning, the bulge would flatten, and the water would spread out towards each pole, where gravity is strongest, filling up the Arctic and Southern Ocean. That would leave this mega continent wrapped around the equator of the planet. In the north, Canada's sadly gone, as well as much of Asia and Europe. Spain, however, would mostly stay above water. Olé! Down south, the Southern Ocean would start on a line roughly through Canberra and would see Australia join New Guinea and Indonesia. Right, so on the new, still Earth, one day would cease being 24 hours long. Instead, it'd be equivalent to 365 days. Half of the planet would be locked, facing the scorching heat of the sun in permanent daytime, while the other half would be in the permanent, freezing darkness of nighttime. The only theoretically habitable part of Earth would be a tiny twilight strip of land between the two halves. The poor people making their home in the new tiny strip of land are about to face even more trouble. Over time, the lack of Earth's movement would mean that Earth's protective magnetic field would decay and eventually disappear. Soon, our atmosphere would disappear as well, which would then leave us exposed to deadly cosmic rays with practically no chance of survival. Unless we move deep underground, which would pose its own set of challenges. Look, this is all pretty grim, but don't stress. Scientists say that this is not going to happen for at least 1 billion years. So we don't have to worry as we won't be around anymore. Well, most of us anyway.
Clearly, something has changed, and changed in a way we haven't seen since the beginning of precise radio astronomy in the 1970s. About Space will follow this story on why the Earth is spinning faster and the days are getting shorter. And as a reminder, join Dawn Meyer this Friday for another America in Space program, and have your family and friends join us each week. Follow us on Facebook at AboutSpace.today for launches and landings. And to all our listeners around the globe and here in the U.S., thank you for joining me today. I'm David Denault, and this has been About Space Today.